Hi, this is Matt with LSAT Cracked. This lesson is an intro preview to what I consider to be the most important family of question stems on the LSAT, argument evaluation stems. This covers a wide family. We're talking flaws, parallel flaws, strengthen, weaken. We're talking necessary assumptions, sufficient assumptions, most helpful in evaluating, and principal questions. Okay, here's the one thing they all have in common. Step 1, find the conclusion. Step 2, review the premises and ask what logical, reasonable inferences can I draw from these premises, a skill we've talked about earlier in the course. Step 3, evaluate, judge the conclusion. Don't simply comprehend the conclusion, although close reading comprehension of the exact scope of the conclusion is of course a prerequisite skill in evaluation. But your emphasis here really needs to be on being skeptical of the conclusion. You hold the premises and the inferences in your mind as rock solid, unarguable, you know they're true. You try and think, is there any conceivable scenario where these premises remain true, and yet, I am not forced to accept this conclusion? A very similar way of asking it is, if you knew that these premises are true, would you be willing to bet your life that the following conclusion is true? You might say, well, of course not. But then if I asked you to explain, well, why not? What are you worried about? What is the loophole? Where is the gap? Where is the possible exception or the possible subtle linguistic space between what those premises force you to accept and what that conclusion is attempting to claim as a must-be-true statement? If you can begin articulating the flaw, articulating why this set of premises does not lead to this conclusion, you will be starting to answer a flaw question. That's sort of the base or core skill for the rest of these argument evaluation stems. If you can articulate the flaw, then you can parallel it in a parallel reasoning in a different argument. You can think of a flaw as a brick that is slightly cracked in an otherwise pretty good looking brick wall. Well, you could build another brick wall that looks like it. That's a parallel reasoning. You could strengthen the argument by patching up the brick. You could weaken the argument by putting a little stick of dynamite into where that crack is, blowing it up. You could simply describe the crack that you see. That would be a flaw argument. That would be a flaw question stem. So you can see this one core skill extends to several different question stems. If you can evaluate flawed arguments and tell me or tell yourself why they are flawed, you are going to start seeing your score go up across the board on several question stems at once.